Hello and welcome once again to Urban X-Files. My name is Keith, and on this channel we talk about all things history, mystery, supernatural and just strange. Today's video is not so much of a paranormal story, but at the same time it's quite a suspenseful story. And this is a true story and has happened quite a few times to some people. Sometimes the outcome has been great, other times people have not been so lucky. And this story goes quite easily on the list of urban legends as such. Today's story takes us to somewhere in America. In the 1970s, there was an Izzy who's a young lady from Texas. She went to work in a church-led center. She met and married her husband, who was from Salt Lake City. He was raised as a Mormon, but fell in love with Izzy, who was a Christian, and he converted to Catholicism so he could marry her. They moved to start their married life somewhere near Atlantic City. Then one evening in 1971, Izzy was driving home from her sister's house, and she was about 10 minutes into her drive home when she noticed in a rearview mirror a car seemed to be following her. Now this was a bit of a isolated stretch of road that she took, so it wasn't often you would see cars, and it just made her notice this car. So after it seemed to be following her, she remained at a steady speed, but she kept her eye on the car behind her. And she knew it was this same car because one of the main beam headlights was out. So it was just the side lights and one main light. So she knew it was the same car. And she made an exit off this road, and she noticed that this car behind also did the same. Now, then the car started to follow her more so. So Izzy hit the gas, and as she sped up, she noticed that the car behind did the same. Now panic started to set in, with obviously many horror stories and urban legends, as we've mentioned before, and these strange attacks of people being carjacked and raped, murdered and whatnot. Now, she took a bit of a detour home, and this was pointless as the car was still behind her. She thought that if she went with the roads that she knows, like back street roads and things like that she'd be able to lose the car. Now, this car was not lost. It still followed her all the way. Now, she was really beginning to feel afraid that she was not able to flee this pursuiter. Now, when she neared her home, she started to speed through some red lights to get away from the car. She pulled up close to her, she pulled up as she was coming in close to her home, and she got straight onto her drive, and she prayed that someone was home, her husband, one of the neighbors, or someone was about. She was absolutely terrified as the car that followed Izzy pulled up onto her drive and pulled up right next to Izzy's car. So close that she managed to scratch, so close that it was managed to scratch all the paintwork of Izzy's car. It was that close, and it would have stopped anyone getting out of the side of the doors. She was in a state of panic, as you can imagine. So she slammed down on the horn, and she just kept her hand on the horn, honking and honking. And then moments after hearing the horn still beeping, her husband ran out of the house to see what was going on. And he could see clearly that his wife was very upset. He was joined by some neighbors who also heard the commotion and also come out to see what was going on. So her husband confronted the strange driver of the other car that had parked so close to Izzy and had also scratched all the paintwork. What the fuck is going on? And as he opened the door, he could see that her face was ghostly white as she rushed out of the car. And Izzy had tearfully been shouting through her window that car followed me, that car followed me. And then they noticed the driver of the car was a female. And the woman said, as she stepped out of the car, and her husband grabbed her to, obviously he just wanted to protect his wife, so he grabbed her. And as he was in her face, because obviously he was very alarmed that he'd wrecked the car, and also why she followed his wife home. And she said in a very slow and cautiously voice and said, I followed her home because I was coming home from work and I was about to get out of my car, and I seen a man sneaked into the back of your wife's car, into the boot, and then into like the back, because the way the car was, it was like a 7-8 seater type car. So he said, if you don't believe me, just check. So Izzy's husband let the lady down, and when he went to the back, the third row of the car, he could see there was a middle-aged man with long hair, was squatting in the back of the car. He was holding a knife as he rocked back and forth. Now, the neighbours, thankfully at this point, had called the police after the commotion, and the police had arrived just in time as the husband shouted the police over, and the police come, obviously guns armed and pointed at the door, and the man with the knife was detained, arrested and disarmed. And it transpired this oddball of a man in the back of a car had been on the run from a mental hospital for over a month. And during that time, he'd robbed the grocery store, and he tried to unsuccessfully, thankfully, rape a young woman. And he'd also attacked a group of teens in the park. And he'd also gone on a rampage and stabbed a poor dog and multiple cats to death. So they were onto his trail, following the trail of these dead animals. And needless to say, they were so grateful to the lady who obviously gave his wife a fright, but saved Izzy's life. And they sparked a fantastic friendship, and they're still friends to this day, even though they're old and grey and stuff now. And it was that grateful to the lady who followed her home that she became godmother to Izzy and her husband Jack's firstborn. So they named their baby after them, and the woman was given a reward for the selfless and very brave actions that she took that night to save the stranger of a woman getting into a car. This, God forbid she wasn't there, but thankfully she was, or this would have been one of those crazy murder mysteries. And yeah, so that is today's mystery, scary, suspenseful story. For those of you who was expecting a paranormal one, I am sorry, but I do like to include some of these strange mysteries. And it just goes to show you never ever know what's lurking around the corner or what's in the back seat of your car. As always, there is plenty of urban legends that has something strange in the back of your car. I hope you enjoyed this story. If you did, please let me know in the comments below. And if you'd like more of these type of stories, as well as the spooky ones, of course, please let me know. For now, take care and see you in the next video. Peace.